Hello and welcome back to another episode of BSN. Today is Wednesday, June 1st. Hope everybody's having a day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is in fact Wednesday, June 1st. I apologize. I was not able to get a pod done yesterday on Tuesday. Obviously had my last baseball game of the season yesterday, so my baseball season is all finished up. So I will be able to be doing pods now for basically, I'll try to do one every day now. I'm going to be kind of back to really the Monday through Friday, everyday type of routine. And I will really be able to do a lot more content for you guys, a lot more videos, and it's all good because now, the baseball season's really ramping up. You have hockey right now in the best possible state right now with the New York Rangers in the Eastern Conference Finals. You got that going on. You got the NBA Finals starting up tomorrow on Thursday. So a lot going on, a lot of exciting sports. So I will be able to do a lot more podcasts now at more of a consistent day-by-day, Monday through Friday rate of, just days and stuff like that. And obviously on Sunday, I'm able to do my Bubs Talking Baseball podcast, so all that good stuff. It's all good. And, obviously a lot to get to today in the podcast. I am very pumped up for tonight's game. Rangers Lightning Game 1 tonight at Madison Square Garden, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Boy, oh boy, am I fired up. I'm pumped up for this one. I was so happy with the result on Monday. Got a massive win, 6-2 over the Carolina Hurricanes. You talk about everything that the Rangers could have done right in that game. They did right, and that is just the way we wanted it to go. And for Carolina, everything that could have went wrong for Carolina went wrong. Their goaltending was shaky. Ronta got hurt. The Rangers were just getting a ton of shots up, dominated them. Their forecheck was bad. And for the Rangers, they were clearing pucks, getting shots on net, converting on the power play, scoring goals. Just everything that the Rangers needed to do in Game 7 in Carolina, they did. So I'm going to recap some of that game and obviously get you ready, since I did not do a podcast yesterday. Obviously, tonight's Game 1 of the Lightning series, so obviously get you ready for Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals starting tonight at Madison Square Garden in the heart of New York City. So looking forward to that. Really pumped up. Very nervous, I will admit. Very nervous. A lot of anticipation. I was really nervous for Game 7 in Carolina, and I'm just very excited to get this series going. I felt the same way against Pittsburgh, felt the same way against Carolina, same way here against Tampa. You just want to get the series going. You just want to get it started. And look, once the series starts, everything just is all the chips will fall in place, and whatever happens. That's kind of how it is. So looking forward tonight, Game 1. Big opportunity for the Rangers to get off to a good start. I don't want to get too much into it here because I have a topic for it, so I'm going to get into it, right when we start the podcast. Yankees, Mets yesterday both got big victories. They continue to cruise. Yankees beat up Noah Syndergaard. I guess you could say the Mets got 2 victories because the Mets wanted the Yankees to dominate Noah Syndergaard. They did. And the Mets dominated the Nationals themselves, which they did. And right now they're in a day game. They got a 1 o'clock Eastern game, day game before getaway day. Nationals will also head on the road along with the Mets going out to L.A. So they have getaway day today. Obviously, like I said, Mets will head on out and head on out to... Went out to LA to start up a 4-game set against the Dodgers, which will also be a West Coast road trip, and the Nationals will head out to Cincinnati to play the Reds starting on Friday. So they got a game going right now. Mets are currently up right now 2-0 in the bottom of the 7th, so in just a couple outs away from a shutout to end out that series. And the Mets yesterday got a 10-0 victory. So it was a dominant game for the Mets, dominant game for the Yankees. In total, Yankees and Mets outscored their opponents 19-1. So 2 dominant performances from the Yankees and the Mets yesterday. Like I said, Mets fans got 2 wins yesterday. They got the win. I guess they were like 2-1 because I think a lot of Met fans wanted the Yankees to dominate Syndergaard but didn't want the Yankees to win. Either way, Yankees dominated Syndergaard. Just absolutely destroyed him. Syndergaard pitched 2 1/3 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, 5 earned, 45 pitches, 29 strikes. The Yankees just nailed him. Matt Carpenter, Gleyber Torres and company all coming up big with a couple big hits. So it was really a fun night last night for the Yankees. And as for the Mets, they also had a fun night as they got the job done 10-0. And for the Mets, like I said, this was a big series for them. On paper, it's against the Nationals who, are not a very good team. They're in a rebuild. But when you realize what's coming up in these next, really the entire month of of June, you're looking at very good teams. You're looking at the Dodgers, the Angels, the Dodgers, Padres, Angels, then the Brewers. You're looking at Astros. You're looking at a lot of really good teams that you got to play here within the coming weeks, and it starts tomorrow with the start of the West Coast trip against the Dodgers. So it's important for the Mets to close out today's game. Got six more outs to do so. Get the sweep, get on a plane, head out to LA, get a very important and long road trip started out there, and we'll see how they all go. Yankees today will finish up the 3-game set against the Angels before they have a day. I'm sorry. Second game of the 3-game set today. I'm sorry, the day off on Monday messed me all up, because here I'm thinking the Yankees, it messed me all up. So this is today. Yankees have game 2 of the doubleheader tonight. Doubleheader. What am I doing? I'm all over the place here. Trying to look at my notes and speak to you at the same time. Yankees today, let me reset. Yankees today, second game of the 3-game set against the Angels. Mets final game right now against the Nationals. In the bottom of the 7th, they're up 2-0. So, just 6 outs away from closing the series sweep out. Yankees second game today of the 3-game set. Yankees will look to get the series win. Nasty Nestor's on the hill for the Yankees. Tomorrow, Ohtani will take the mound. So hopefully Yankees get the dub today, and then tomorrow they go for the sweep before welcoming the Tigers in for a weekend series starting on Friday. All right, let's get to the topics for today. Got 2 topics, a lot to get to here. Very, very exciting time, obviously, as a New York sports fan. We're going to start off with the Rangers and the Lightning. We're going to get you ready for the Eastern Conference Finals starting tonight at Madison Square Garden. Very exciting. Just really looking forward to tonight's game. Really, really, really looking forward to tonight's game. Looking forward to this series starting tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. We'll recap a little bit of what went on in Carolina in Game 7, but most of all, really get you ready for the game tonight, along with the rest of the series, what the Rangers need to do to win, give you the keys and all that good stuff. Excellent goaltending matchup. I think if you're just a hockey fan in general and you're not a Ranger or a Lightning fan, you gotta love this goaltending matchup. You have Igor Shesterkin versus Andrei Vasilevsky. Really, there is no argument. They are 2 of the best goalies in the world, and this series, in a way, is going to decide who's the best. Because, whoever wins this series is going on in the Stanley Cup. So that's really, really exciting. So we'll get to that. Then we're going to get to the Rangers Jets OTAs updates. So we're going to get to that. I want to give you what's going on in the Jets OTAs. Today they had media was able to watch the OTAs, so there was a lot of reporting on that, how Wilson was doing, receivers, all that good stuff. So want to get to that, talk about the OTAs, and really get into, now that the offseason's really kind of not coming to a close, but really kind of, now we're into OTAs, and then after this, you wait about a month and you're into training camp. Now that we're getting closer and closer and closer to the summer and training camp and all that, it's finally time for these media people that everyone's saying, oh, Wilson this, Wilson that. Finally time for Wilson to dial in, get ready, throw with his receivers, and why Wilson already seems a lot better than he was last season in just a little bit that we've seen and heard about him. I'll get to that and much more. And then we'll finish off with New York Sports Update. Like I said, Yankees tonight, second game of the 3-game set against the Angels. Rangers, game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals tonight at home against the Lightning. And the Mets right now are in the middle of their final game of the 3-game set against the Nationals before heading out on the road. By the way, Monty last night pitched great. 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 1 walk, 4 Ks. 87 pitches, 52 strikes. So it was phenomenal last night and got some run support as well. Got a lot of it. All right, so with all that being said, a lot to get to. This is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So tonight's tonight. Rangers, Lightning, game 1 tonight, Madison Square Garden. Pumped up, fired up for tonight's game. Game 1 tonight, just to give you the whole series. So game 1 tonight, game 2 will be on Friday, game 3 will be Sunday. Game 4 will be Tuesday of next week, and then so on and so forth. Then Game 5, Game 6, Game 7, if necessary, those are later on next week. And then obviously times and all that stuff is all still up in the air. But you got to focus it game by game, period by period, shift by shift, minute by minute, second by second, because that's really what you got to do. You can't get caught looking ahead, because if you get caught looking ahead, you're going to lose. You're not going to play well. You got to focus on each game, focus at the task at hand. And here we are. We find ourselves as New York Ranger fans in a situation where the Rangers are in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they are 4 wins away. No matter how we get them, 4 wins away from punching our ticket to the Stanley Cup final. And I'm just so pumped up to say that, because the fact that this Ranger team going into this season, the expectation obviously was to make the postseason. It was obviously to, be competitive and stuff. But I don't know if anybody saw us, knocking off Carolina on the road in Game 7 and then having a matchup in the Eastern Conference Finals against Tampa, especially with the East being so good, with teams like Tampa, teams like Florida, teams like Carolina. But we're here. We're in the Eastern Conference Finals. And the fact that I'm saying that feels so good. And it all starts tonight. Now, we got here by a great Game 7 performance. And like I said, I'm going to recap a little bit. Not go by a lot, because I really want to get into the series that's coming up here. That's the main focus. Game 7's now in the rear view. We were able to enjoy that all yesterday. Now today it's time to get focused and dialed up for this upcoming series against Tampa starting tonight. But it was on Game 7, Monday. As you all know, I did a pod Monday. It was Memorial Day. And I was nervous. I was nervous. I was really, really nervous going into that game because, there's so much at stake. If you win that game, you are 4 wins away from getting to the Stanley Cup. Now, you could look at it as 4 wins away from getting to the Stanley Cup, or you're only halfway through, which the Rangers right now have got to the halfway point of the postseason. They need 8 more wins. Got to find a way to win 8 more games. 4 in this series, get to the Stanley Cup, win 4 more there. Now, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Like I said, you got to focus it game by game, and tonight's game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, but that's the big thing. The Rangers are 8 wins. They already got 8 wins, so they figured out a way to get 8 wins already. 4 against Pittsburgh, 4 against Carolina. Now you got to find a way to get 8 more here. So, Game 7 was great, and I said in Game 7 that the Rangers needed to do everything. They needed to do a lot of things right, and they did a lot of things right, and they got the game started off exactly the way they needed to. And I said this, in all the games in that series, other than Game 1, the team that scored first won. And a lot of people were saying, that's so obvious, we all know that, but that's the truth. You don't know how important it is in any game. And I'm sure in this series, too, it's going to be pivotal, and especially in this series, because this upcoming series against Tampa, you have 2 of the best goaltenders in the world. So if the Rangers score first, that gives them the heavy advantage because you have Igor back there. It's not going to be easy to score, 2 more goals on Igor. And same thing vice versa, because the Tampa Bay Lightning have Vasilevsky. So you can't fall down. Either team can't fall into an early 2-0, 3-0 hole, because the goalie at the other end, it's going to be hard enough to get 1 goal across, let alone 2 or 3 more. So that's also how big it is. But that was also especially big in the Carolina series, because the Rangers needed to get off to those good starts, and you were on the road, right? And, the big focus in Game 7 for that was you're on the road, right? You needed to get off to a good start. The forecheck had to be good. You can't let, no turnovers. And the Rangers, limited all that stuff. There was very little turnovers. The forecheck for the New York Rangers was great. The forecheck for the Carolina Hurricanes was not existent. We all said as Ranger fans, Rangers cannot play the dump and chase game. They did the opposite of that. They were getting the puck in the neutral zone, getting good 2-on-2 chances, getting, 3-on-3 odd man rushes with some space, even, 3-on-3 chances with some space. They were getting the puck, they were getting set up in the offensive zone, they were forcing pressure early on in Antti Raanta, and I love the way they did that too, because they were getting pressure early on Raanta, and they knew that Ranta's confidence was going to be low based off of the fact of how he performed in Game 6. He let up 3 goals that 2 of them he probably could have saved. The one, it was a tough one. But he let up a couple softies, and it. I said going into that game, the Rangers had the way more confident goalie. And Vasilevsky, Raanta, on the other hand, was not as confident. His confidence was not going to be that high after getting pulled. And the Rangers shot on him early, and it worked. They got off to a quick 3-0 start. Adam Fox scored early. 3 minutes, 40 seconds into it. 3 minutes and 40 seconds into it, they scored. That's big. To score that early, to get going that early is big. They went into the third period with a lead, 3-0. Then they added 1 more on in the third period to make it 4-0. Carolina came back with a quick goal, 4-1. And then Philip Hedl, literally 40 seconds on the dot, 40 seconds later, Hedl scored a goal. And it's funny because as a fan, right, you're still, 8 minutes in, the Hurricanes score. So you're thinking to yourself, all right, 4-1. You still have 12 minutes left in the game. And you're thinking to yourself as a Ranger fan, you're like, all right, calm down. It's okay. And I had to say that to myself too, because at times, whenever a team scores, you always think to yourself, oh gosh, here we go. Now they're just 3 goals away. Or if you have a 2-0 lead and they score, now you're like, oh gosh, they're 1 goal away from tying it. Here we go. So when they scored the goal, it was 4-1. And I didn't get nervous, but it's still in the back of your mind, like, all right, they scored a goal, just reset. Let's score another quick one, get it back. And they did just that. Filipino had a nice goal, assisted by Capo Caco. 40 seconds later, did the job there. Then Carolina came back. It was too late at that point. 16 minutes in the third period, they scored. It doesn't matter. It was a 3-goal game at that point. Then the Cop had an empty netter. Then ended up, making it a 6-2 ball game. And Andrew Copp's been great. I mean, Copper has been awesome. I mean, he's been great. And it's good sometimes, for a player that does so much, and maybe doesn't always score the goals, but to at least get credited with a goal, an empty netter, he deserves that. And Mika saw that. And Mika saw him, going up the ice, and he passed it to him instead of Mika trying to do a long shot with the possibility of an icing. He saw Copper up there, and for a guy that does so much, he deserves the opportunity to get a goal. He deserves the opportunity to get into the scoring column, even if it's just an empty netter, because he's done so much. And you gotta give credit to Chris Drury. I mean, so also with Gorton, because Gorton assembled this team of young studs. But you also got to give credit to Chris Drury, because the pieces that he brought in at the deadline have been pivotal. I mean, you talk about Tyler Mott, who's been great. Kopp, who's been great. You talk about Frank Vetrano, who's been awesome. Those guys have been pivotal, and those are all mid-season acquisitions. And when you talk about trade deadline in any sport, you talk about moves that could take your team from here to here. That team that might be on the outside looking in, it can make you from the outside looking in right into the conversation, and that's what these moves have made. The Rangers, you could say, were kind of on the more on the outside looking in at the Stanley Cup. Now they're in the Final Four. They're one of the Final Four teams. They're 4 wins away from a matchup against either Avalanche or Oilers. Obviously, Avalanche took a 1-0 series lead in that, but that's how big that's where these moves have got them. And offseason moves like Barclay Goodrow have been pivotal. I can make the argument that if Goodrow does not come back in the Carolina series, we very well might not be talking about an Eastern Conference Finals right now, because the shots that he's blocked, the plays that he's made, the veteran presence that he brings to the table, especially on the road, just being calm. He's been through it before. He was, won the Stanley Cups with the Lightning. He knows he's very knowledgeable, leader in the locker room. He brings so much to the table. It was big to get him back, and he's going to be a big factor in this series because, number one, we already know he's a veteran. Number two, he's been in these moments, right? Number three, he played with Tampa. He knows what they do. He knows their tendencies. From all the times in practices to the games, all that stuff. He knows what it is, so it's always an advantage to have a former player. And for Carolina, they had a lot of former Ranger players, and that's an advantage for them. Now, it's a little bit of a different advantage because Gerard Gallant took over as coach, but they still know some of the players' tendencies and stuff, right? They, like, for example, Brendan Smith. He still knows, Laugh's tendencies, some of those guys' tendencies where they like to pass, what they like to do, shoot, certain situation. But in terms of playmaking and game plays and actually plays within the game, and passes all the time. Like, that's Gerard Gallant. He didn't play for him. That's a different system. But for, Goodrow, it's the same coach, same system that Tampa's running. So Goodrow knows a lot about that, and that gives us kind of a little bit of an inside edge maybe, into this series. And like I said, now to really get into this series. Now to really get into, the series here against Tampa. Look, it's important again. And, I've kind of, as a Ranger fan, grew up to the fact that maybe this team is just better playing from behind. But it's still very big. And I will continue to say this. Let's say even if, I know after Pittsburgh series we came back. I still said it. Carolina series, I know we came back. I'm still going to say it. It's very big that we still get off to a quick start in this series. And especially against a goaltender like Andrei Vasilevsky. Because he's a guy that if you fall down early in games or this series, it's going to be a whole lot harder to get goals past them. You fall down 2-0 early in a game, that 2-0 comeback's not going to erase that early. You might score one in the second period, and then it might take until way late in the third period to score, or if you score. So, each game, it's huge for the Rangers to get off to quick starts. Because if you get off as the New York Rangers, if you get off to a quick 2-0 start, well, you have Igor Shesterkin at the other end who's been phenomenal. And like I said, same thing vice versa. For Tampa, if they get off to a quick start, well, now the Rangers have to figure out a way to score 2-3 goals and put 2-3 goals behind Vasilevsky in the matter of 40 or 20 minutes. And that's going to be very difficult, especially for Vasilevsky, who's a guy who shut down the Florida Panthers, who a lot of people had them going all the way. And a lot of people had them going all the way with it being pretty easy. A lot of people thought that the Florida Panthers, there really was no legit threat, maybe other than the Avalanche in the West. But obviously the Tampa Bay Lightning took them down in a 4-game sweep. So for the Rangers, it's imperative and it's huge to get off to a quick start and protect home ice. And I mean that in games and home ice. Because if you can find a way to win these first 2 games, which I think we're very capable of taking the first 2 games. Because we've been phenomenal on home ice. We've been phenomenal. We've been a completely different team on home ice. It showed in round 1. It showed again in round 2. Although we did have the dominant performance on the road in Game 7, but still, we are a very good team on home ice. So I do feel this team's very capable of getting off to a 2-0 series start. But you got to find a way to at least get one at home. At least one, right? Because you don't want to go into Tampa, a team that very veteranized, knows how to play with a lead, knows what it takes already to get to a Stanley Cup final. Not a team that's going to get caught looking ahead. They've won back-to-back. Obviously, they've already passed all the tests of, do they still have, the energy? Do they still have, the drive and the push even after winning 2 Stanley Cup championships back-to-back? I know, a lot of teams sometimes they win one and it's kind of, they're not the same team afterwards because they kind of got one and that's all they want. No, this Tampa team has shown that, look, they won 2 in a row. They're going for 3. They're going to go for as many in a row as they can. So for the Rangers, it's huge to get off to a quick start. And if you can protect home ice, that takes this series in a whole different direction. Because then all you got to do, you got to find a way to win 1 in Tampa. Then you go back Game 5 and you have a chance to win it at home. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but that's just what I'm saying. And I've been saying that all postseason long. Why it's huge to get off to quick starts. And especially against a good goaltender by Vasilevsky. Because he's a guy that if you can't get pucks past him at home, it's going to be even harder on the road with the crowd involved and on his side to get pucks past him. So the Rangers, it's huge. And like I said, I think this team is more than capable of getting off to a good 2-0 series start. You want to know why? Because we have Igor, net, and we've been very good at home all postseason. So nothing really changes there. That's really the big thing. And all these people saying, and I understand Vasilevsky's great, but you got to trust Igor. All these people saying, oh, we got to go up against Vasilevsky now. This, that. Look, we have Igor at the other end. We got 2 of the best goalies in the world battling out. This is great. This is awesome. This is good for hockey. I mean, whoever wins this series, you could go ahead and say, look, that's the better goalie. Because they obviously made the bigger plays and bigger stops in games. So we're going to find that out here. And that's what's so great about this series. And that's why it's so big for the Rangers to get off to quick starts. Build your team's confidence. Especially at home. There's nothing better than scoring an early goal, getting the Garden crowd involved early, getting the crowd behind Igor making a couple big saves early. Although I would rather the Rangers, there's a couple saves that he makes that are just phenomenal, and they make you just wonder how he makes them. And there's a couple saves, too, that you just wonder, like, can we play defense? Like, there's a couple of second chances that teams have gotten on Igor. And it's like he makes a save, but you're thinking to yourself, let's not let them get a second chance of that good or a grade A chance right in front of the net. So those are the big things, right? You got to get off to a quick start, especially against a good goalie. If you can get Vasilevsky early, if you could score early on him, get the Garden crowd involved early, that's big. And look, the Tampa Bay Lightning, I don't know how long he's going to be out. But he's out. Braden Point's out for Game 1. He's one of your best players. So for the Rangers, you got to take advantage of that. Right? Hedman versus Fox is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Panarin, top 6 for the Rangers, got to show up because the Lightning's top 6, very good. Rangers top 6 has got to show up, and it has. Panarin's looked better in the last 2 games against Carolina. Kreider obviously had the goal in Game 7. Mika's looked very good. It's big. And it continues to just be that kind of, Lindgren and Reeves and Trouba delivering the big hits that, it's just a perfect all-around just mixture of talent, right? Guys that can score, guys that can hit, guys that can block shots. Lindgren's kind of your goon. Reeves your goon. Trouba's your goon. Those guys can block shots. You got Gaudreau, who can do it on both ends of the ice, knows what the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to throw at you, right? He knows what they're going to do. And you look at, Gaudreau, another guy, too, who's more than willing to put his body on the line to block a shot. So those are the big things. And Lightning have a very lethal offense. Very lethal. So that makes it more important, too, for a team who, they got to find a way to stop Stamkos. Stamkos' role now is even bigger. His role is even bigger now that point's out. Now that point's out, Stamkos is really going to even shoot a whole lot more. And we know what Stamkos is. We know what Stamkos brings to the table. Led the team in points and assists and goals this year for the Lightning. I still think Stamkos is one of the best players in the league still. I still think he's the best player in the Lightning. I still will always say this, that if Stamkos was not on the Lightning, this team's not the same. And you could say that too, because if points out and let's say Stamkos wasn't on the Lightning, well, who you're rolling with? It's just a different team. So big for the Rangers. Panarin, those guys like that. Panarin, Stamkos. Going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. Got to score. Any chance you get against Vasilevsky, you get an open net, you get a one-timer, you get a 2-on-1, got to take advantage on those. Because they're not going to get a ton of those. And Vasilevsky is going to make a lot of big saves. So anytime you get an opportunity, power plays, where you have the upper hand against Vasilevsky, you got to take advantage of it. Because he is a very good goalie. We saw him in the regular season. We saw what he did against Florida. And the same will be said about Igor. Right? He's got to make the big saves. We know he can, especially at home. Get off to a good start. Get going early. Score a good goal. Score a couple goals early. Get the crowd involved. Let's get this series off to a good start starting tonight with Game 1, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Let's go Rangers. 4 wins away. Countdown is on. Right? Countdown is on, right? Let's get this win tonight. Let's get this series off to a big-time start. All right, that's what I got for the Rangers. And their big series coming up here, Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, you talk about the difference in series, because you had the game last night, which was highly entertaining, by the way. I'm not complaining. That had 14 goals. Avalanche won 8-6. Then you have a game tonight against the two best goaltenders in the world going up against each other. There's a good chance tonight's game's a 2-1 ball game. Or a 2-1 hockey game, I should say. So you talk about this series for the Rangers and Lightning, there might be 14 goals combined scored in this series. That's how good the goaltending is. And in the other series, you had 14 goals in one game. So, you got to say, whoever gets this Stanley Cup out of the East, hopefully it's the Rangers. And I really do believe the Rangers are up to this task and the Rangers can do this. I really do believe it. They have home ice. They're a very good hockey team, got a very good goalie. They did well against Tampa in the regular season. Take advantage, home ice, score goals, right? I do have a lot of confidence in this Rangers team. Don't want to get overconfident, but I do have a lot of confidence. And I do. I'm confident in this team. I believe in this team. I believe in this group of players that they can get the job done. I'm not overconfident. Like I said, you don't want to get overconfident, but I do believe. And you got to believe in this team, right? They're a great young group of guys. They're just guys that are going out there playing hard, physical, scoring goals, having fun. Like, you got to believe in this team. This team's a lot of fun to watch. So, whoever comes out of the East, you already know that they're going to have the upper hand in the goaltending battle. Whoever they play in the West. So, that's the big thing. 14 goals last night. Tonight, very well could be it could be a 1-0 game. You might see a shutout. Probably more, I would say more so 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, something like that. But it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to get all the goal highlights from the Western Conference Finals, and you're going to get all the excellent saves from the Eastern Conference Finals. That's how it's going to be. You're going to see, this guy, you see Igor Shesterkin flashes the letter with a glove save, and you go to Colorado, and it's going to say, 3 goals in the matter of a minute. That's just how the East and the West are so different right now in the Final Four teams that are remaining. So, it will make for a very, very interesting Stanley Cup when we get to that. And obviously, like I said, I want it. I just hope that it's the Rangers and whoever comes out of the West. And I believe it can be if the Rangers execute and do what they need to do. So that's tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, ESPN Game 1. Protect home ice. Let's get the win. Let's get this series off to a good start. Let's go Rangers. All right, coming up next, we're going to get to the New York Jets. Haven't talked much football, so we're going to get to the New York Jets and the OTAs update. Media today was allowed in. Going to give you a little bit of an update on OTAs, what's going on, how Sauce doing, Wilson, Garrett Wilson, and all those guys like that, Zach and Garrett Wilson, the two Wilsons there, the dynamic duo that hopefully turns into, something great for the Jets, and all that other good stuff. And also, I'm going to tell you why. If you're a Jet fan out there, you got to feel really good about Zach Wilson. You got to feel really good about going into the season with him. And also why all the other media saying bad stuff about him, some is good, but he's just got to go out there and prove it. He's got the weapons around him. He's got the pieces to do it. It's all about putting it all together. We'll get to that and much more coming up next. All right, so welcome you back here about the BSN podcast here today, Wednesday, June 1st. A lot of fun. Stuff going on tonight. Rangers, Lightning, Yankees, Angels. So as a Ranger and a Yankee fan, look for a 2-0 night with the Rangers and the Yankees both winning. That would be a very, very good Wednesday night. We're going to get to some Jets, though. We're going to get to some Jets football. And like I said, I understand it's June. I understand it's just OTAs. I have not talked much football on the podcast recently. There's been a lot of big stories out, but with me, having some days where I do them, some days where I don't, like I said, now it's going to be a lot more consistent, with the podcast and all that stuff. So, I'm going to get into football today. We're going to get to some Jets OTAs. Today, the media was allowed in to OTAs. So, OTAs obviously is all optional. Guys don't have to show up. Mandatory minicamp, I believe, it starts on June 16th through the 19th. That will be interesting to see who shows up then, and then obviously training camp. You're gonna have some training camp holdouts. It's gonna be interesting to see if/when Becton shows up, and if he does, how he looks, the type of shape he's in, health-wise, what he can do. So there is still a lot of loose ends that the Jets need to tie up in terms of looking at guys and seeing how they come into camp, seeing how they come in, health-wise, and there's a couple guys that you put under the radar going into the offseason, right? You want to see how Wilson bounces back from a rookie year in which, for a rookie year for an athlete, which is why I've always said, being the rookie of the year, whether you're the defensive or offensive rookie of the year, is an incredible accomplishment. I don't think a lot of people get how big of an accomplishment that is. Like, winning offensive rookie of the year or defensive rookie of the year is something that is very, very difficult. And I think one of the hardest awards to win. Because I understand there's only a select few rookies that are really, really up there in the world. A seventh-round punter's not going to win it. Not every draft pick's going to be in the equation. But it's the prime starters, right? It's usually a top 10, top 15, top first-round pick usually. Sometimes, later on. But, it's one of the hardest awards to win. Because you have so much stuff being thrown at you. You're on a new team, new situation. You join in the offseason, you just have a lot of stuff thrown at you. You got to learn the playbook, got to learn the system, got to learn everything about it. Got to learn just about, adjusting from life to college to the NFL is a huge, huge adjustment. A lot of guys went to colleges near their hometown. Right? Let's say you went to college in your hometown and all of a sudden you get drafted by a team that's on the other side of the country, right? Let's say you went to college on, I don't know, in the East Coast, and then you get drafted by the Seahawks, and you're all the way on the West Coast, and you got to find a way to, figure out things and all that good stuff. So it's very hard to win a Rookie of the Year with all that other stuff going on. So for Zach Wilson, he was one of the guys that went into this season with, going into the offseason with the mindset of a lot to improve on. His rookie year, I really felt like the rookie year for Zach Wilson kind of just went like that. And a lot of times players feel that way. Like their rookie year just went like that. Like it was just a blur. Because so much is being thrown at you. Like playing college football is one thing. Playing NFL with all the media, they're talking to the press and all the preparation and getting ready for games. Like, and then when you're not, and then when you're close games, and it's also just the speed of the game's completely different. You go from playing in a college stadium to playing inside of, playing in front of, 50, 82,000. I mean, the Jets don't get 82,000 going to their games right now because nobody has been really showing up because they stink so badly. Now, obviously, you got to hope they turn things around, which I believe they're definitely on the cusp of. And this year, there should be no excuse for not being in the hunt this year. But obviously, like I said, with Zach Wilson, you go into the offseason, and it's been great to see. One of the biggest positives so far to take from training camp has been the way he's come in. He's come in shape. He looks a lot bigger. He's definitely hit the weights. He's got a little, he's throwing the ball with a little bit more speed, more accurate. And we all know about Zach's tour around America or the United States that he took this year, visiting different wide receivers, getting a big group of them, going all the way down to Mims, in Arizona, and going out to California and throwing with Moore, Mims, all these guys, making plans to go throw with Garrett Wilson on the side and do stuff on his own there with him to build chemistry and all that stuff. And he's really taken matters into his own hands. And as a quarterback, as a guy who is being relied on to be a franchise quarterback for the New York Jets, that is something huge. And if you're a Jet fan right now, and I understand it's put up or shut up. You could say everything you want about him going around and throwing to different receivers and doing all that stuff, but at this point you got to go out there and show it on the field. So I understand that factor. But he has checked off all the boxes that we've needed him to check off in this offseason. How is he going to respond from a rough rookie year? Is he going to take what he learned and use it to his advantage? Is he going to work with the receivers? Is he going to get a little bit more experience and kind of a little bit more of a leader? And when you hear guys like CJ Uzomah, who played with Joe Burrow, who we all know how talented and smart and good of a guy he is when it comes to quarterback position, even his preparation and all the hard work he puts on off the field. When you hear him say positive things about Zach Wilson and the way he carries himself and the way he prepares just for practice, you gotta feel good about not only where this direction of this franchise is going, but the biggest question mark of them all being your franchise quarterback. He has checked off all the boxes that you've wanted him to check off. He's a lot more responsible. He's much smarter. He's come into this season in great shape. He's come into this season maybe with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, realizing, look, I was the number 2 overall pick for one of the biggest franchises in the NFL. I need to, playing in one of the biggest markets in the entire world. You're playing for a New York football team. There is an incredible amount of pressure and expectation that comes with that. We have not won a Super Bowl in 54 years. Joe Namath turned 79 years old yesterday. We won a Super Bowl when he was 25. So there is a lot of pressure on you. And to see Zach Wilson come into OTAs the way he has, you got to love what you're seeing. And you still get these people in the media saying all these negative things about him. Look, there's nothing negative about Zach Wilson right now. He's doing everything right. He's looking good. He's throwing the ball well. Guys seem to like him. He seems to be creating a bond with a lot of the young guys, especially guys like Garrett Wilson. He's really working hard with his receivers to make sure that chemistry is down to an almost perfect chemistry come week 1 against the Ravens at home at MetLife Stadium. Pumped up for that. Don't want to, obviously rush the summer away, but I'm just saying, getting ready for that. And, you look at this Jets roster, it's a whole lot more improved. And you cannot tell me that this Jets roster isn't far off from taking over the Patriots in the AFCs, taking over the Dolphins, being that second team only behind the Bills. And it all comes down to Zach Wilson. And the early signs of is good. It's all good. It's all about now. Come when the season comes, it's all about putting everything that you put into in the offseason, putting it out there on the field for the NFL world to see. But right now, you still get some negatives, but you're getting a lot of people across the NFL landscape that I think a lot of people are actually surprised of what he's done in this offseason in terms of how hard he's worked, in terms of, I think, how much this means to him. He kind of took this offseason personal. I think he took all the bad feedback from last year, the media beating him up, the 4-13 record, the fact that he threw more interceptions than touchdowns. And I think he took a lot of what he learned late in the year where he had a lot of success, and he's really applied it to his offseason. And he's come in looking like a guy that's played 10 years in the league in terms of just his experience, the way he speaks to the media now, the way he just prepares, and you got to like what you're seeing. And it is put up or shut up. You can do all those great things. It is practice. You got to bring it to the game. But you got to love what you're seeing there. And from the rest of the roster, too. It really seems like the culture that the Jets are building is really starting to form. You hear guys say how great it is to work with each other. You hear guys saying, what Saleh brings to the table. And, just about the whole narrative of the Jets being this bad organization is now starting to flip. These guys are finally, I think, starting to realize, look, the Jets have gotten it right. Now it's time for these guys to come together and put it all out there on the field for the NFL landscape and the NFL world to see, and be that surprise team that does some damage. And I think the Jets are definitely capable of doing that. And, when you hear guys like DJ Reed talk about the locker room and the atmosphere and just about the camaraderie with the guys, and obviously they're going to say that stuff. It is a lot of positives. At the end of the day, you got to perform on the field. You could say all this good stuff. If you win 3 games, none of this means anything. But it does definitely seem like Saleh's got this locker room where guys are, pumped up. Guys seem to believe in each other. When you had Gaze as head coach, you couldn't say that. There wasn't, you just didn't feel, there's just a different vibe around this team. When Gaze was the coach, you didn't hear guys praising Darnold. You didn't hear guys praising Saleh. You didn't hear guys saying this is one of the best, rooms I've worked with in terms of position groups. Like, the Jets have put all the pieces together. Like, the puzzle pieces are in. Now it's all about time to go out there and execute and win football games. And that's the biggest thing. But there's a lot of promising signs from OTAs. Wilson, the receivers, Sauce, all these guys. Young guys getting reps. Coaches doing their things, getting a first-hand look at a lot of these guys. Coming in from the offseason, OTAs is big. Mims looks like he's coming with some shape. Saleh has praised him a lot. Maybe he gets a little bit more of a bigger role than he had last year. If he could do that, that'd be big. That'd be a big depth piece to add. So, a lot to like from the Jets. It's just OTAs, but there is a lot to like. All right, so let's get to the all right, so look at this. So this is just something here. So 5 months later, Joe Douglas still remembers the feeling the New York Jets had lost their season finale to the Buffalo Bills 27-10 to finish 4-13. Their 6th straight losing season. On the flight home, the general manager tried to remind himself it was a rebuilding year, that growing pains were expected, but that didn't dull the sting. Sick of having games like that, Douglas told ESPN, recalling his thoughts from January 9th. Sick of having seasons like that. By the time they landed, his mindset had changed to 2022 and beyond. So began the Jets' offseason, a period in which Douglas went from sick to sickum. The Jets used free agency in the draft to add 8 potential starters, fueling optimism around the team. A punchline: for the better part of a decade, they now find themselves in an unusual position of receiving pats on the back. On his podcast, NBC Analysis, Chris Collinsworth tabbed Jets as a team to watch, saying, "I just feel like if there's a team out there that could make a jump this year and surprise everybody, the Jets, maybe they're that team this year." The Jets have history of turning optimism into despair, but the difference with the 2022 is it's built with young, ascending players as opposed to big-name free agents who took the money, became complacent, and fell short of expectations. The roster includes 7 players drafted in the first round from 2019 to 2022, tied with the Giants and Jaguars for most over that span. 6 were selected by Douglas, the lone exception being defensive tackle Quinnen Williams, who is in contract talks for an extension. We've got to develop them, and we've got to win games, but I feel things have kind of fell our way in the draft the last couple years, Douglas said. After the 4-13 debacle, hardly a surprise with the amount of youth on the roster, the front office devised a plan that was born from their end-of-season meetings with the coaching staff. Douglas called it the most important meeting of the offseason. They went through the roster player by player, discussing strengths, weaknesses, and potential growth. Free agents were grouped by priority. A 2022 depth chart was established. The dialogue that meeting, it really set the blueprint going to the offseason, Douglas said. For the most part, the Jets used free agency to hold to non-premium positions, signing tight ends C.J. Uzomah and Tyler Conklin, and Lincoln Tomlinson and safety Jordan Whitehead. The exception was cornerback DJ Reed. None are household names, but they're all productive players in the age of 25 to 30 age range. In the 25 to 30 age range. Tomlinson is the oldest, but 30 isn't old for an offensive lineman. He made the Pro Bowl last season as an injury replacement. So, look, you look at the depth chart now. Look, this is way more improved. Wilson, so their 2021 lineup was Wilson, Carter, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Jameson Crowder, Ryan Griffin, George Font, Elijah Vera Tucker, Connor McGovern, Duvernay Tardif, Morgan Moses. Their defense was JFM, Quinn Williams, Fadakasi, Shaq Lawson, Mosley, Quincy Williams, MC2, Bryce Hall, Brandon Eccles, Marcus May, Ashton Davis. Now you look at their projected starting lineup, and it's just so much more improved. Zach Wilson, running backs are Michael Carter, Breece Hall, wide receiver Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, CJ Uzomah at tight end, your left tackle being Becton, left guard Tomlinson, center McGovern, guard Elijah Vera Tucker, and then Font being your right tackle. Then your defense looking like Jermaine Johnson, Quinn Williams, Franklin JFM, Carl Lawson. Linebackers are Mosley, Quincy Williams, nickel corner MC2, corner number 1 DJ Reed, corner 2 Sauce Gardner, safeties being LaMarcus Joyner and Jordan Whitehead, which is a much improved roster. So a lot of optimism around the team. It's been great to see. All right, so let's get into the New York Sports Update. Finish things off here. As for today in baseball, you got Giants, Phillies, Marlins, Rockies, Orioles, Mariners, White Sox, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Reds, Twins, Tigers, Cubs, Brewers, Rangers, Rays, Dodgers, Pirates. Mets right now are up 5-0. Yankees tonight 34-15. Angels are 27-23. Reed Detmer's on the mound. He's 2-2 with a 4.65 ERA. Yankees have Nasty Nestor on the mound. He's 4-1 with a 1.70 ERA. Over under set at 8. Today, 7 to 5 p.m. Eastern. You can find on SN1. And yes, Rangers Lightning tonight, Game 1, 8 p.m. Eastern, ESPN, Madison Square Garden. Let's go Rangers. Pumped up. I'm fired up for this game. All right, let's get into the fantasy baseball. In my main league, I'm currently losing 95-80. And Gene Segura's on the IL. So I'm going to have to figure something out to do with him. There. And in my other league, I'm currently winning 107-70. So I have Carlos Rodon. Oh, Michael Kopech's pitching today? I didn't even realize that. Got to put him in. So, hold on. Let me see. Carlos Rodon, Trevor Rogers, and Michael Kopech are in the lineup for my one league. And in my main league is Carlos Rodon, Tariq Skubal. So, hoping to come back in my main league. And, that will do it. That will do it for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Another good podcast in the books. And, tonight's the night. Game 1. Madison Square Garden. Rangers Lightning. Let's go Rangers. Get this series off to a very, very good start with a win tonight. And, that will do it for the podcast here today. As always, I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for watching.